Today is the day we're going to be opening our 100 packs from the Murders at Karlov Manor set, which is really cool. But first of all, I just wanted to share something with you that just happened. It's pretty cool. Been doing really terribly in Premier Drafts for this set. Really, really bad. I don't know what's happened. I just always get the wrong things. But today, hopefully, this was, if I counted right, yes, this was the 7th win. I finally got to 7 wins in the Murders at Karlov Manor Premier Draft. I don't know why I've been doing so badly, but hey, that's some packs that we're going to open now. Okay, here we go. And here it is, the 100 packs I'm going to open for the Murders at Karlov Manor. This has been by following my free-to-play strategy for building a card collection. I haven't spent any money on the game in the last, I don't know, 9 months or something, because I just don't need to be able to collect as much as I have, like 96% of most sets. So I'm going to go through kind of the before and after of these 100 packs. We're going to start opening them very soon. So don't forget to like and subscribe for the video, this channel, if you haven't already. Okay, right, so first of all, let's have a look at what the collection for the set is before opening these packs. So currently the collection for the set is at 62% of single cards. I don't know how many I have, like 4 of or more than 1 of each yet, because we haven't got to that point. But that's what I've got so far just from doing Premier Drafts. And I've only actually done 6 Premier Drafts for the set, which is quite low. Normally I aim for about 10 or so. I just haven't had the time recently, so I've just done what I can with it. The good thing with the drafts is that now that we have the play boosters rather than the draft boosters, we get more rares in the packs. So I've actually loads more rares and mythics from picking in the draft than before. I had a video that kind of broke that down. Have a look for that in the last week or so from this video being uploaded. You can probably see how draft has changed because of that. It actually means that last set I had the same win rate as I did for this set. So for Ixalan, I had about the same win rate. And I did 8 Premier Drafts. I got 42 more rare cards by doing Premier Drafts than I would have got if I just spent the money on packs. And over doing 8 Premier Draft events, I picked up 52 rares and mythics from the actual draft. But from Karlov Manor, I only did 6 Premier Drafts. I picked up 74 rares and mythics from the draft. So even though my win rate wasn't that great, I didn't do quite as many. I actually got more value from those Premier Drafts for this event than I did for the last set. And if you're following my kind of free-to-play collection building strategy, phase 1 is doing the drafts or the jump-in events to start building a base collection. And then once you get the packs, you want to open them kind of as early as possible, but once you've done as many of the quick draft, Premier Draft or jump-in events, which means you kind of get this point where you have a bit of a collection, but you haven't been able to build that many different new decks, and it's kind of like you want to get on with it. You want to start building these new things. And I've used up loads of my gold. I've used up loads of my wild cards. I'm down to 61 commons, 1 rare, and 1 mythic. And my vault progress is currently at 50.8%. So I'm going to go and open these packs now. Let's see which cards we get from opening the 100 packs and how it changes our set collection and our wildcard count and the vault progress as well. So we're going to start with the Murders at Karlov Manor packs. I'm actually going to open the 9 golden packs as well. I don't see any point in necessarily waiting too much longer to open those. So let's just get started with the first 10 packs from Murders at Karlov Manor. Okay, so there's certain rares and mythics I am looking out for. I haven't gone into huge detail about what they are yet. I'm going to have a video breaking down all the best rares and mythics from the set that people have been using the most. But I'll let you know if I pick up any particular ones here. Reenact the Crime is a huge one. There's so much you can do with that. The 2-color lands, obviously really, really important to add to your collection, so I'm really happy about that. Illicit Masquerade, being able to make creatures basically reanimate things. When the creature on the battlefield dies, brings back something else. Huge, huge, huge. Massacre Girl is part of the deck that I've been building at the moment, but I needed more copies, so that's great. And Ansrag can do pretty cool things, considering it's an 8/4 for 4 mana that can make extra combat phases, so that's really cool. Some of the other ones are like, okay, yeah, I don't do so much white-blue control, but, it's still a good card. Apart from that, anything else here that's particularly exciting? Not really. I mean, forensic research is really good, but I think I already have 4 copies of those. But really good in a Merfolk kind of combo deck that I've been working on. It's been working out pretty well. I would like to do something with the blue and red artifact kind of opta synergies that are happening in this set, so maybe I'll work on that as well. What else do we have? So Goblin Maskmaker, really good for the face down spells. I don't know if that's going to be like a really competitive deck, but it's works really well in draft, so we'll see if that comes into standard as well. Public Throughfare is a great land to be able to add to your collection because as long as you can, tap an artifact or land you control, this is basically 1 mana of any color, which is really powerful, especially considering like if you're a free-to-play player, you might not have that many rare lands. So having something that can potentially tap for any color is really, really good. Most of the other commons and uncommons are not anything hugely exciting. Demand Answers, pretty good, quite like that. The Crowd Control Warden, really good in draft. I don't know if that's really going to work quite so well in standard, but we'll see about that. And Slice from the Shadows is a good removal spell, especially in a Massacre Girl deck. So that's going to be added to that deck when I make that very soon. Okay, that's the first 10 packs. Let's go on to the second 10. That was really good. I got 4 mythics out of the 10 packs, and all these wild cards like pinging up here. Okay, right, only 1 mythic in this lot. It's a wild card, which is great. We've got the 2-color lands. Rakdos is like, there's a really good deck. I really like the Rakdos Robbery deck that I posted like a few days ago. So having extra black and red lands is really going to just improve that deck. I don't have as many, so, well, I don't, this is the first one of these I've got, so it's going to really help. Krenko, I would like to have a kind of goblin, mono red goblin aggro deck. There's been some really cool goblins added recently. And I had a good goblin deck like 2 years ago, which I really love playing. So I've kind of missed that. So that'd be great. Another land, which really helps. And Coveted Falcon. This is a really interesting one that worked out pretty well for me in draft. You can give your opponent control of any number of permanents you control, and then you can attack and you start bringing them back one at a time. Now you could give them a land on the turn that you disguise this. On the turn that you turn this face up, you can give them one of your lands that are tapped, attack, and you bring the land back. So that's like a free card. But you can also give them things like when you have, an ossification or any other kind of auras. If you have an aura attached to Coveted Falcon to like investigate or draw a card when you do damage, you can give your opponent control of that permanent. But it doesn't affect anything. It still stays attached to your creature. It still works the same. So if you have something with lots of kind of auras or enchantments that don't that basically exile things and aren't going to give the opponent some kind of benefit when you give it to them, then Coveted Falcon's a really interesting card. So I quite like that one. I use that a lot in draft as well. Okay, so apart from that, we have Gleaming Geardrake, really good in a the kind of anvil artifact sacrifice deck. I don't really like the way it plays. It's okay, but being able to add blue to this to be able to add +1 counters onto a Geardrake and grow that over time seems pretty good. So I'm going to be building a kind of Grixis Anvil deck with things like Gleaming Geardrake and also the Crime Novelist that adds extra red mana and +1 counter when you sacrifice an artifact. Yeah, that's something I'm going to be working on. Okay, we've got Breakout, which is great in a very small red and green creature kind of aggro deck. So another one I'm going to be working on. There's loads of decks that I've got in mind to build out of this. We've got the Case of the Pilfered Proof, which is really good for detective synergy decks. I don't know how great detectives are going to be as a specific deck, but we'll try it out. We'll see if that works. Case of the Shattered Pact is a really interesting one. So it's colorless. You can search for any basic land cards. So first of all, that's great. Just bringing out, land of any color. And it works really well with the Leyline of the Guild Pact, because if you have Leyline of the Guild Pact in your opening hand and it goes on the battlefield first, then you've already got that now. If you play this on turn 2, this solves itself because it's colorless. But Leyline will make this all colors, so it gets to solve itself, and then all you need to do is play some kind of big, hasty creature. It's going to get flying, double strike, and vigilance every turn, basically. So I can't wait to see how well that works out as a deck. But that's another idea I'm working on at the moment. Just depends on getting that ley line out as early as possible, otherwise it's kind of a bit slow. Okay, anything else that's really interesting here? I'm sure they're good, but nothing really stands out as something I really want to build a deck around. Anything else? Nothing else stands out to me. Okay, so on to the next 10 packs. How many mythics are we going to get in here? More rare wild cards up there. Only one mythic again. Okay, Conspiracy Unraveler. You might have seen this in a combo deck with Breach the Multiverse and Reenact the Crime, actually, where you can basically discard Breach, which hopefully picks up. Wait, you discard Breach, you play Reenact the Crime to bring Breach back to cast it for the 4 mana, and hopefully you have a Conspiracy Unraveler in your graveyard. You get to bring that out, and then you can cast loads of stuff for free and just get huge amounts of value and hopefully take over by like turn 4. Really, really fun combo deck to play. So I needed some more Conspiracy Unravelers. I need some more Reenact the Crime. But getting that is going to really help boost my collection for that. Another rare land, which is great. Azoni, Center of the Web. This one has worked out really well in draft, and it might work out in some other, black and green kind of mid-range decks. We'll see. There's lots of value you can get from the graveyard, so as long as you're collecting evidence with this, you're going to keep making loads and loads of tokens. So that's something I'm going to be trying. Another 2-color land, which is great. Oh, Treacherous Greed. This one worked out really well. In fact, in that draft I just did, where I got my 7 wins, this one I think won 2 of the games for me. Because it's basically, you can sacrifice something tiny that you don't need, or you can bring back from the graveyard. You're drawing 3 cards, you're gaining 3 life, and they're losing 3 life. So that's loads of value for just 3 mana. So that's great if you could just hit them with a tiny token or some, In fact, I think I might have done it with the skeleton from the Case of the Stash skeleton. So you do damage with that, you get to sacrifice it, then you have the case still to tutor for whatever you need. So it's a rare, so it's really good, and some kind of like token deck. I'm going to be playing that as well. Taser, yeah, you get to investigate when they lose life. When you sacrifice clues, they go to the graveyard. You create a 1/1 black/white spirit creature token with flying. So this is the kind of thing that you might want to sacrifice for Treacherous Greed. So we'll see if those two go together in a kind of black/white token Planeswalker combo deck. We'll see. Now these cards, I don't know if you've seen these very much. They haven't been in standard for a long time. But basically, if you're collecting evidence, this counts for the total value of both sides of the cards. So you get, for this one, you'd actually be collecting evidence for 8 rather than 2 or 6. So really good for collecting evidence if you have those in your graveyard. Just to keep that in mind. Okay, right. Anything else? Case of the Filch Falcon, really good in an artifact, blue and white artifact deck. In fact, No More Lies, obviously really good for that as well. For any kind of control deck. Anything else that's particularly interesting here? See, a lot of these cards you're not going to get that much use out of in standard. This is why the rares and the mythics are the ones that I really focus my attention on when I'm trying to build my collection. Seduce is pretty good. Draw a card, investigate for 2 mana, instant speed. That's okay. I can see that being used. A lot of these other things, I just don't see them making a huge impact in standard. This is one of the problems of having a larger card pool in standard, is that each new set is going to have a smaller and smaller impact on the kind of top decks. Macabre Reconstruction. 4 mana, but it can be 2 mana to return 2 creature cards from the graveyard to your hand. I've used that pretty well in draft as well, so we'll see if that works out in standard. Okay, right, on to the next 10 packs. Let's get some more wild cards. Those go up there. And we've got 2 mythics here. Okay, we've got Agris Kos. I haven't used this yet. I haven't seen it actually in play. I haven't seen anyone use it, so it'd be interesting to see if we can make something out of that. And we've got Delny. Creatures with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. So that's really good if you've got loads of like tiny creatures to attack with. The only problem is, quite often, when you have lots of tiny creatures, you want to boost their power with a War Leader's Call or with um, the Coppercoat Vanguard to increase their power. So once you get past that, it doesn't help the power 2 or less creatures. So you have to find a deck where you don't want to boost the power of things quite so much. We've got the Underground Mortuary. Again, great land to have in that. In fact, we've got 3 more lands there. That's really, really good. And we've got Aurelia. I really like angel-based decks, and Aurelia just won me those 7 draft games. About 3 or 4 of them, I think I had Aurelia because I could tutor for it sometimes, discard things, draw more things. Yeah, I really like Aurelia just because it won me those 7 draft games. We'll see if it works out in an Angel tribal deck. I always like to play Angels. I always have an Angel tribal deck. Whenever there's a new Angel added to Standard, I'll make a new deck around it. Okay, right. Anything else that's particularly exciting here? Another Slice from the Shadows. That's good. Generally, I don't think most of these are really going to make a huge amount of difference. If you have something where you're collecting lots of evidence, Topiary Panther or something like that that can land cycle or just cycle in one way or another. But this is the graveyard gives you the option of collecting evidence 6, so that's pretty good. But again, probably more in limited than in standard. Another gadget technician. Yeah, so that's going to go in the kind of Grixis Anvil deck, possibly. That's another one I'm having a look at. Okay, right. Well, there's not a huge amount in the commons and uncommons in those packs. Let's have a look at these next 10. Well, again, only 2 mythics. The Pride of Hullclade. Now, who doesn't want to try a toughness-based creature deck when you have... Is it the Bedrock Tortoise? It's a 0/6 from the last set that creatures do damage equal to their toughness. Then why would you not want to try and, build something out of that? Definitely going to be trying to make a toughness based creature deck. There's also some other good ones like from Innistrad as well that haven't rotated out yet. So yeah, that's another one that's going to be coming up. Another land, which is great. I'm really liking the amount of lands I'm getting here. We've got another ley line of the Guild Pack to add to the 1 or 2 I picked up in draft games. So that ley line and what was it? Shattered something case, the colorless case. Yeah, we're going to be doing something with that. Case of the Locked Hothouse. I really like this one for the idea of putting in a domain kind of Atraxa ramp deck because you get to play additional lands, which is good. Atraxa will draw you extra lands. If you draw too many lands, you just get to put them all out. And then you can look at the top card of your library at any time and play lands and cast creatures and enchantment spells from the top of your library. And in that deck, like your removal is Leyline Binding, so that's more enchantments. So you can play pretty much anything off the top of your deck when you have loads of lands available, loads of mana available, and you can cast multiple things pretty easily. So yeah, definitely like the case of a Locked Hothouse for domain ramp. I'm going to be trying out some things in that. We've got more goblins, which is great. The Code Breaker, go with Krenko possibly. So yeah, really, really good. Okay, so anything else we want to include in any other deck? So the Harried Dronesmith, really good for the kind of Grixis Anvil deck I'm working on. So I'm looking forward to including that. That was also just in the draft that I won 7 games in. Another Gleaming Gear Drake, so that's really good. Anything else that's particularly exciting? Yeah, I don't think there's anything that much. Slime Against Humanity, I've already got those, so that's not really adding anything apart from Vault Progress for me. That's kind of a fun deck to start with. It gets a bit boring after a while because you can't really do more than one thing every turn. And everything else there pretty standard. Just filling out the collection of commons and uncommons. But like I said, it's the rares and mythics we really care about. No mythics in this one. Okay, but again, lands, really good. Reenact the Crime. Really happy to get that because I really want to have 4 copies of that. Okay, so Homicide Investigator. When one or more non-token creatures die, investigate. Triggers once each turn. That doesn't seem that great to me. It's non-tokens. It's only creatures you control. It only happens once per turn. I'm kind of interested to see, find out why this is actually a rare for what you're getting here. But maybe we'll test it out, try some things with that. Then we've got the Cryptex, 2-mana artifact. Collect evidence 3, put the mana count, put 1 mana of any color, add 1 mana of any color, put the unlock counter on it. You get to sacrifice it, surveil 3, draw 3 cards. If it has 5 unlock counters on it, seems okay. Maybe, yeah, some kind of blue-white artifact synergy deck, maybe. That'd be good. Maybe in a kind of anvil deck, I don't know, because you kind of have to collect a lot of evidence for that. We got Prophet's eidetic memory. So you draw a card, you get to add +1 counters for the amount of cards you've drawn. So there's quite a few different things I can imagine that being used for. Possibly even just like in a Morty Gin style deck, to be honest, because being able to grow that Gin be pretty significant. Lost in the Maze, also a really good one that I like. I don't know if there's really a deck for this at the moment, but if tapped creatures you control have hexproof, actually no, I can think in the Merfolk deck that I'm thinking of, this could work pretty well. But being able to give lots of your creatures hexproof at instant speed is really useful. If you have something like the schooner, the vehicle that's like, was it a 3/4 ship that can crew 1? If you have that out, you can basically crew at any point, and you can make your creatures hexproof because you can tap them whenever you want. No mana. You can do it to all your creatures. So I can definitely see that being used in something. Just need to test it out and try some different things with it. And then anything else that's particularly exciting here? The Detective Satchel, that's another one that's going to go in the Grixis Anvil deck, because you basically you make lots of artifacts, because as an artifact itself, it makes 2 extra artifacts, 2 extra clues. You can also tap it, no mana required, to create a 1/1 Thopter if you've sacrificed an artifact this turn, so add that to an anvil, and you've just got loads of things you can keep making. So again, really, really interesting to change up that anvil deck. It's really boring because we've played it for so long. It's been around for like 3 years, so it's going to be good to try something different with that. Everything else here is pretty standard. Nothing else too exciting. Okay, right, next packs. Those wild cards are starting to build up again, which is nice. Okay, was that 4? 4 mythics. The Vault Strider. I haven't seen a deck where I want to use this yet, but it might happen. Undergrowth Recon, potentially really good. You have those sacrifice lands that gain you the 1 life from, is it Nuka Penna? And then you also have even things like Evolving Wilds. If you can keep putting lands into your graveyard and bring them straight back, even like Field of Ruin, then you keep using those over and over again. So there's definitely some good things you can do with green when you're discarding things, bringing those lands back. Was it once each turn? 1 land each turn. So really good ramp, basically each turn. Another Reenact the Crime. I think this might be my 4th one now. If it's not, it's at least the 3rd one. So I'm going to be making that deck. Another Rakdos land, so that's great. And we've got the Axebane Ferox. I'm really looking forward to using this one. It might even go in the deck with the Leyline of the Guild Pact, because if you get this out early enough, then you've basically got a creature that's pretty much hexproof. So Death Touch, haste, and the Shattered Pact also gives double strike, vigilance, and flying. So it's got like pretty much all of the keywords apart from trample, and collects evidence 4. Yeah, pretty much make it hexproof to start with. If you have something to control the opponent's graveyard, then yeah, it's going to be doing some really good work. Even just Death Touch Haste 4/4 is not bad as it is. So some mono green things I'm going to be trying out. Looking forward to seeing how well that actually does. So I used to really like playing mono green, and it has not been anywhere near as powerful recently. There's another case of the Shatter Pact. It's only uncommon, so it doesn't matter if I don't get them, because I'll just use my uncommon wildcards. But if I can't get them and save my wildcards for later, then I would much rather do that. So hopefully I'll get some more. If not, it's not a massive deal either way. Okay, right. Down to 30 packs left, and then we're going to get to those golden packs. So, rares or mythics here. We have, oh, just one mythic. It's a wild card again. I think we've done pretty well on wild cards, actually. That's good. More lands. It's great to see those lands, because those are the ones, at the moment, anything we get now is going to be around for like 2.5 years until it rotates in like 2026. So getting these lands now is going to be huge amounts of value in terms of our collection, in terms of being able to use them. So yeah, really happy about that. Then we've got the Wearer of Faces. There's a 2-mana 2/3. When it attacks, you exile a card from the graveyard and then investigate. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you can have Lazav become a copy of a creature exiled with it until end of turn. So there's all kinds of creatures you could possibly have in your graveyard, and this basically means this can turn into anything for 2 mana. Well, that's if you need to pay 2 to sacrifice the clue. You could sacrifice the clue some other way. Anything else that might sacrifice a token, like, I don't know, like an anvil kind of thing. So I'm sure there's definitely some good things we could do with that. We've got a couple of those. Got a Lamplight Phoenix, which I don't know if I necessarily use that, but I might do. And then Yaris, Roar of the Old Gods, a 4-mana 4/4. Other creatures gain haste, and whenever you do face down creatures, you get to draw a card when they do combat damage. And when a face down creature dies, return it to the battlefield face down. When a face down creature you control dies, return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. And then if it's a permanent, you get to turn it face up. So I'm going to be trying to do lots of things with these face down cards with Yaris. I think one of my other drafts that went pretty well was using this card and face down cards. So we will see what we can do with that. Anything else that's interesting? Oh yeah, so the repulsive mutation. So X green blue instant. It's a counter spell, so you basically can just do it for 2 mana. You don't have to have the X. X is just number of +1 counters you put on a creature you control. So if you have a creature, that's great. If not, you can counter target spell unless they pay mana equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So any decent, high-ish power creature. It doesn't even matter if it's only like 2 or 3. Obviously, the higher it is, the better. But even just paying 3 that's equal to No More Lies, which is really popular at the moment. So we'll see if there's a good deck that we can include that in. The Forensic Researcher, I think I have 4 copies of this already, but it works out really well in the Merfolk combo deck. So that's one that I'm going to be putting together very soon with a video for that one. And apart from that, I'm going to guess everything else is all pretty standard stuff. Yeah. Okay, right. We have 20 packs left. See how many mythics we get in this one. Oh, 1 mythic. Okay, feels like last time I got a lot more. Okay, we've got another Agris Kos. We'll see if I can find a place to use him. I do like red and white together. I've got quite a few very different red and white decks. So I'll see if I can find a place for him. No Witnesses, I don't really like. I mean, this is a really weird board wipe because each player who controls the most creatures investigates, then destroy all creatures. So you kind of want to have the most creatures to get the extra benefit of this. If you have the most creatures, you might not want to do the board wipe unless you have loads of tokens. Maybe there's actually, do you know what? There is a deck I could see this working in where I think I currently have Depopulate, but it might make loads of token creatures, so maybe it'll work out slightly better. It's only like getting 1 extra clue, but at least it's something. We've got a Hunted Bone Brute. So when it enters, the opponent creates 2 1/1 white dog creatures, which is like not great giving the opponent creatures, but when it dies, you make the opponent lose 3 life, and it's a 6 power creature that's only 3 mana, which is basically the kind of thing you want to enable fight rigging while it's still in standard. So possibly a good one to include in that. Would you rather have this than what's the other one? The Shakedown Heavy. The only problem with the Shakedown Heavy is the opponent can stop you attacking with it, so it can't really get that damage through. So yeah, possibly I can see that happening. We've got a Niv Mizzet, which Hexproof for multicolored, I don't think it's going to necessarily be that useful. Like, I kind of feel like there's so much removal that's monocolored that I don't think there's a huge amount that's multicolored that's likely to be used against this kind of thing. You know, a Lightning Helix only does 3 damage, this is 6 toughness. I don't know of anything else that really stands out that gets played a lot. But hexproof and multicolored is at least something. So a 5 mana 6/6 flying creature, when it does damage to a player, you can do X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards, and you gain X life, where X is a number of different color pairs among permanents you control that are exactly 2 colors. That's a lot of text. Basically, it just means you want to have as many things out as possible that are each 2 colors and as many different color pairs. So it makes the mana really awkward. But if you have lots of legendary creatures, you can have things like Plaza of Heroes and other things that can make mana of any color. And maybe if you even have the majority of them as a certain creature type, there's other lands you can include that would help make that work. So it seems like a kind of a deck that probably is very consistent, but might kick off like crazy every so often. So maybe a fun one to make. Then we've got Case of the Uneaten Feast. It's really, really useful in the kind of black and white life gain decks that you see these days, just to keep bringing those creatures out, but also being able to, well, not bring the creatures out, to keep gaining life, which enables all the other synergies in the life gain deck, but also when it's solved can bring creatures back from the graveyard, which is really valuable because a good chance that you've had creatures be killed one by one or a board wipe, and to be able to bring them back afterwards is really useful. The Flourishing Bloomkin is quite good as well. Also in a kind of just mono green deck. Gets +1/+1 for each forest you control, and we still have Awaken the Woods, which is like X green green, create X 1/1 Dryad tokens that are also forests. So we can really boost this in a kind of like Nissa Trample kind of mono green deck. So I'll be trying that one out as well. I think that could be pretty fun. Lightning Helix, obviously, you've probably seen it everywhere by now. I have an Arcane Bombardment deck that I really like to play. It's really good fun. This is a straight upgrade on the Sacred Fire that I used, which was like the same mana, but just did 2 damage and gained 2 life. So upgrading that to a Lightning Helix has done some good things, and I think there might be a couple of other cards in there from the new set. Yes, some of the 2-sided cards, like it's not Hustle and Bustle, but I think it's Push Pull is the one that works really well in that deck as well. So I should have a new Arcane Bombardment deck video coming out soon. We should see about that. And then Borak Clan Basher. It's a shame it's kind of expensive, like 6 mana or 5 mana to like turn it face up if it's disguised. But a 3/2 double strike trample is pretty decent damage. Maybe if you're working just with budget decks, you don't have so many rares. This could be a good one to include. There's probably better rares to include if you do have the wild cards or the cards to make that happen. But still, something doing that much damage with double strike, give it a boost to its power, and it's kind of doubling that boost because it's doing double strike as well. So really, really good. Anything else that we need here? Probably not. Okay, last 10 cards. Then we're going to get onto those golden packs. Let's see if we get some more mythics here. Ooh, okay. So the mythics we're getting here, another Pride of Hawklade. So, okay, toughness deck. Etrata Deadly Fugitive. Face down creatures you control have 4 mana, turn the creature face up. If you can't exile it, then play the card. You may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. So being able to cloak things with Cryptic Coat, which is another really good rare, and being able to flip things back over, basically play anything for 4 mana, there's definitely a deck there I'm going to be trying out. I just need to figure out exactly how I want it to happen. Case of a Stash Skeleton. Great for being able to tutor things in black. And we've got Sharp-Eyed Rookie. I kind of want this to work in a kind of green aggro deck. So it's going to keep growing, kind of like the Evolving Adaptive keeps growing. You also get those Investigate tokens as well when it grows, and it has Vigilance. So it's kind of got a few things going for it that are better than things like the Evolving Adaptive. But we'll see if that finds a place for itself in the green deck. If you do actually run a Slime Against Humanity deck, then Sharp-Eyed Rookie is a good one to include in that, because Every time a new slime comes out, it's going to be bigger than the Sharp-Eyed Rookie, and you're going to keep getting those Investigate tokens, which is going to keep fueling your card draw to play more slimes. So yeah, I can see that working out in that deck. If that deck is very good at all by itself is another thing, but I can see that working well with the slimes. And then we've got more 2-color lands, which is great. Another satchel for the Grixis Anvil deck, No More Lies. If we didn't have it already, I think we already had 4 copies anyway. So if you really like blue-white control, you definitely want those. In case of the Gateway Express, it's pretty good for a removal spell and to be able to boost your creatures. Something like Boros Aggro with the War Leader's Call is, yeah, possibly something you want to include that one in. I didn't get any War Leader's Calls in opening these. The reason why is I'm pretty sure I might have crafted 4 of them already because I was just too excited to try it out in different things. And then all the hype has kind of started with Boros Aggro and other things. So yeah, I can. That's probably why I didn't get any of those. I don't recommend using your wildcards early like that, but I just couldn't help myself. Okay, right, so we're going to open the gold packs now. I'll go one at a time, but we'll just go through them pretty quickly. So let's reveal all these. Locked Hothouse again, Agency Chief, Rivers of the Claw. It's great for dragon spells, which actually will work really well in the Niv Mizzet potential Niv Mizzet deck, because it's also 2-color permanent as well. I've also seen someone do something with Karn Silex recently, which is really cool. It says that players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Now, unless I've somehow got this mixed up, if you have like Ward pay 3 life, like a Phyrexian Flesh Gorger, and the opponent is trying to pay life to cover the Ward cost to target that, I believe that comes under paying life to cast a spell, so they basically cannot take out creatures that have a Ward pay life ability. I think that's the case. I'm going to test it out myself as well, and I'll kind of maybe put in the description whether that's true or not. But that seems to be what someone did, and I think it's kind of interesting. So, yeah, definitely an interesting one. Okay, right, and then we've got Ojo Kaslam, which might be good in this kind of mono-green deck where we're trying to get through as much trample damage as possible, and we get to also put creatures and potentially lands out at the same time. And if you have something like Zapandrel, which is like doubling power and toughness, then that should work out pretty well. Another Aurelia. We've got quite a lot from the new set here. Another 3 from the new set. And the Vidalian Mindsinger, being a merfolk, and a rare from Dominaria. So it's not like something you might not have seen it. I don't think anyone's ever really played this that much. But in the merfolk combo deck I'm working on, that does turn up, and it does some work in that deck. Okay, another Anzrag, another locked house, Cryptic Coat. Not my first one, so it's good to have that. Lots of good things here as well. And Intrude on the Mind, really good blue control kind of spell, drawing cards, making creatures. It's all good fun. Okay, right, so last ones. Let's go, go, go. Jamil in a Sun. Barbed Servitor. I haven't seen many people use this. 4 mana, 1/1 indestructible doesn't sound great. You get to suspect it, so it can't block either. But there are ways of removing the suspect. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card, lose 1 life. Pretty good, but whenever it's dealt damage, the opponent loses that much life. So your opponent isn't going to want to block this. So you're going to keep, in theory, drawing cards and losing life. If you have a shield red, you're gaining life at the same time, which is fine. And normally losing a life to draw a card is a pretty good deal. So I haven't seen many people use that, but it will be interesting. Also, it's, well, I was going to say it's an artifact, so you can't get it to go for the throat, but also it's indestructible, so it doesn't matter anyway. But you'd have to use like a -X kind of ability to get rid of it. And we've got a 3-fold Thunderhulk, which is another one I haven't seen many people use that much. But considering it's a 0/0, and when it enters, it puts 3+1 counters on it, there are things you can do to bring it back and make it bigger, so that then it will make a lot more of these gnome creature tokens. So again, I haven't seen it used that much, but I can see lots of things I could do with that. Okay, right, we have 5 more golden packs to open. Then we're going to quickly have a look at the collection again and wrap things up. Vesuvian Duplimancy, haven't seen it very much, but I do like how it looks. you get to basically make a copy of something as an artifact or a creature, and if it's legendary, then you can make a non-legendary copy. And so, obviously, if you have the reason for the legendary rule existing is that if you have too many of them, it would be kind of broken. So, being able to make extra copies, yeah, is kind of broken. It's kind of fun. Another leyline of the Guild Pact, which is good. I need to have that. Another case of the Ransack Lab. Instants and sorceries cost one less to cast. You have to cast loads of them. And then whenever you cast one, you get to draw a card. I can see that being used in a few things. I haven't found quite the right deck for it yet. Okay, so 4 golden packs left to go. We've got Urgent Necropsy. So when we cast this spell, we can collect evidence X, where X is the total mana value of the permanents it targets, because you get to destroy an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker. For mana, you just have to collect evidence equal to the mana value of all those targets. Now that might be quite high, depending on like what you're targeting, but being able to really flexibly target lots of things, really, really useful. I've got another Guild Pact, Visit, which is great. Build a deck out of those. And Invasion of Innistrad. It's really good in the Massacre Girl deck because you're giving something -13, -13. You're going to draw an extra card with Massacre Girl. So that's great. Okay, 3 packs left to go. Like Christmas morning. Okay, right, so we've got Mirror, Shield of Argive, making loads of extra tokens, and the opponent can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments on your turn, which you'd think you'd see this more often. So it seems like pretty good kind of way to lock down the opponent's things. You don't see it a huge amount, not even in soldier decks. Another Cavern of the Souls, Cavern of Souls, really good to have in any kind of tribal deck, but even in a deck that doesn't necessarily focus on one creature type, it's good to have just to, well, if you have a couple of copies, you can name different creatures. So, like, even if you have 2 or 3 main creature types in a deck, still a really good one to include. And Mono Blue is crying because this one exists. I don't see Mono Blue hardly at all, to be honest, and probably because Cavern of Souls exists. Okay, 2 more golden packs left. Bartley. I remember seeing this when it came out in the previews for Ixalan. I thought it'd be really good. I've never seen anyone play it. So, yeah, but hey, it's one for a collection. And then we've got Steam Core Scholar. I've seen this recently. So it's 3 mana, 2/2, Flying Vigilance. Doesn't sound that great. It's a weird detective. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. That is pretty good. Then you discard 2 cards unless you discard an instant or sorcery card or a creature card with flying. So I don't know. I've seen people use that recently, but kind of seems okay, but not incredibly amazing. We'll see. Another Barb Servitor. I'm going to try and use those out. Try and find the right place for those. Sure, the right place exists. Just have to find it. Thalia, the Gitrog monster. You don't see it very much these days, but like you think it'd be great, right? First strike, death touch, 4/4, hard to kill. Okay, the world spell. Looking at the top 7 of your library, reveal non-saga permanents, and you get to basically put them into the battlefield from your hand on the 3rd chapter of this. In fact, you can just read ahead as well, so if you have any 2 massive things, you can put this out for the 7 mana, cast this. Again, don't see this one very much often, but you'd think it would be. So I guess this is a sign of the fact that Standard is so big, there's so many things you could do, that even cards that seem really good just don't get played. Then we've got another Outrageous Robbery. Like I said, my Rakdos Robbery deck I really, really like. So adding another one of these to my collection is good news for me. And World Soul's Rage is a great removal spell and ramp spell in one. So that's great to use. And then Illicit Masquerade. There we've got the, reanimating things. And reanimating things is always fun. So what can I say? That's all my packs. So let's go back to my collection and see how well I'm doing now compared to at the beginning of the video. So we're now currently at 95% complete for single copies of cards. I'm only missing 4 uncommons, 1 rare, and what's that, 7 mythics from the set at the moment. Once I get to complete one of each of those, I'll actually see how complete I am in terms of 96%, which is what I tend to get for most of those sets these days. But also for commons, we've pretty much got 4 of all. This is why it doesn't really matter. when you pick up commons in draft. I don't really include commons in the calculation of opening packs because you get them anyway. And if you don't get them, you have loads of wildcards, so you don't even need to worry about it. The thing you need to worry about is getting enough to get the rares and the mythics that are actually going to be the biggest impact in the deck building, the decks that you make. And, it's obviously the rares and the mythics that are doing a lot more work than the commons and uncommons. So I really don't care about them quite so much in calculating building a collection. So at the moment, we've got 91 common wildcards now. We've got 38 uncommons, 18 rares, 8 mythics, and a vault progress of 83.9%. That's gone up quite a bit, almost at 100%, not too far off now. That's like all my packs open. So what am I going to do now? But that's like all my packs open. So what am I going to do now with all those cards? I'm going to start building some decks. So I've got loads of different ideas for decks to make at the moment. That includes decks that use the best of the rares and the mythics that I've opened, but also I've got quite a few budget deck ideas that I'm going to be putting together for you so you can see those coming up hopefully in the next few days, next week or so. Um, like I normally do for most sets, is to have a video going through certain budget deck lists you might want to make. If you don't get to play as often as maybe I do, or maybe you don't do so well in drafts and you haven't got a very big collection, you don't have very many rares or mythics, and not very many wild cards, then those budget decks are going to really help you to play the game as often as you can, enjoy it, get your wins, get your gold, without having to worry about having all the most fancy cards, the rares and the mythics. So that's the end of stage 1 in Murders of Karlov Manor, doing my drafts, getting my packs. I've opened the packs. I'm going to be building those decks now. That's kind of like the next stage in a set release. So let me know in the comments below which cards you're most excited about building collections with. Let me know in the comments how you've done with your drafting of this set. I found that I had 2 terrible drafts. Out of the 6 drafts I did, 2 of them I got 0 wins because I just never drew the thing I needed and it was awful. So let me know if you've had a similar experience to that. But I should also point out, I think it happens quite often to people. You might get 0 wins in a draft, but being able to collect those rares and mythics actually means I'm still about 80 rares better off having done the drafts than if I just bought packs with those resources. So even if it doesn't seem like your win rate is very high, you can still get loads of value from those drafts. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You can have a look at the link in my description for my Patreon if you want to help support the channel in that way and get some bonus content over on our Discord server. So check that out if you haven't already. It's actually really, really useful, and it's like the best stuff I can come up with. I put in there to help you guys out as much as possible. We also have monthly giveaways. Next one's coming out at the beginning of March. So if you want to get in before the giveaway happens, which is for a $25 credit for mtgacodes.com, where you can buy pre-releases and things like that, pre-release codes to go into Arena. Have a look if you haven't already, because you might not want to miss out on that. But anyway, that's all we've got time for today. So thanks for watching this video to the end. I will see you in the next one.